or you can just figure it out by feeling it. Okay, next one. So once you've done that on both sides, you can also kind of do this one where you bring the arm up and you push on the shoulders. Okay, for the sake of time, I'm not going to spend too much time here. This is also nice to work on the deltoid. Okay, rotating in and out. Okay, really for your homework, I want you to see like what does get exposed when you make that rotation.
Yeah.
Okay, find it out. Okay, then turn your head. And then like here, you can come up here. This is a nice one too. Same kind of momentum, right? You're just pushing with your Lao Gong. Moving this hand back like that. Boom. Super easy. Doesn't take any strength. Just takes body weight. Okay. Then, now that's all relaxed, you can do some dynamic motion here. We start them here.
So just to clarify, so when it's out front, you're doing the shoulder girdle and the arm, but when it's out like that, you're doing the shoulder. Like that's what gives you access to the shoulder a little bit more.
Yeah. After that, you come up here. Okay. Try the best to like keep their hand on the back of their head like that. Okay. And you can start by just coming up, but that's not what you try. That just to get a feel of what's going on. But like really, you wanna rotate them up and see really where they're tight. Okay, so you can rotate like this or like this. Okay, but you just make circles. You go up in circles, semicircles, like that. And look what I'm doing with this hand. I'm helping support that rotation. Okay, you can go this way. This movement that I'm doing can easily translate into the next stretch. Okay, this is really getting not just her tricep, but really her chest, even the side rib cage a bit. Okay, so you can create a dynamic motion like this. And one really nice cue to give somebody when you're doing this stretch is become aware of all the space you're feeling on your left side rib cage, in your left underarm, and breathe deeply into it. But yeah, one nice cue to give, regardless, a lot of people benefit is tell them to breathe into the side rib cage, because you are supporting the opening of the side rib cage without them having to do any work. It's a really luxurious feeling. Right, so they breathe deeply into that, okay? And it also helps expand that area and it deepens the stretch. This is a really important concept too, is when you hold them in static position. So we've been doing dynamic here, right? And then you hold them in a static position. Just by having them breathe deeply, they'll start deepening the stretch on their own, right? Because inhales are going to create an expansion. And so while you're stretching, it just deepens the stretch. And exhales are going to release tension. So it's an opportunity while you're applying pressure for their muscles to elongate. Okay, cool. So let's flip you around. Yeah. Okay, so we're starting with the root. One of my favorite exercises to begin with is, and this is for people who are like really tight, okay? They may not be able to do a hamstring stretch. They might not even be able to lift their knee up to their chest. So you want to just start basic, start simple. And what I like to do is just push the knee into the chest like this. This helps the client feel safe too, because the first 9 months of our existence are in a fetal position, right? We're in the womb, we're in a fetal position. And so neurologically, this helps us feel safe. Again, it protects the stomach. This is also a good place for them to check in with their breath. You may remind them, hey, check in with your breath, take a deep breath. One really cool cue to give them is, breathe into your belly. So that helps them breathe diaphragmatically, okay? And they'll notice then the intelligence of the stretches, okay? When you have someone in an asana or a stretch, it has an intelligence to it that's doing something. So in this case, as they're breathing into the belly and I'm pushing the belly, the thigh into the belly, the belly can't expand all the way, right? So all that expansion now goes into the lower back. And this actually creates a stretch in the lower back. Just by them breathing, they can deepen that stretch. Once that starts opening up, you might do like dynamic, right? And then hold it static. I'd say like do at least 5 repetitions of a dynamic movement. Okay? You can combine it with breath. So like when you, for example, when he inhales, I might move it away. And as he exhales, I might bring it in. This kind of complements what he's trying to do with the breathing. But then when I hold it here, I can tell him like breathe into the belly, and you can see how it's creating a stretch in the back. Whatever. Okay, you can play around with that. But then once that starts opening up, I like to create rotation this way, me going out. Boom. And then back in. And the other way. So this is nice to just have the leg here. Stabilizes the body. And I'll go into more detail in a second. But moving out like this. And again, this is not a linear motion. Okay, I'm contouring this movement to how David's hip moves. All right, I'm not pushing too hard. I'm just pushing firmly, and we're right at the edge of his range of motion, what he can comfortably do without, pulling something or tearing something. And I'm seeing that it's circular, right? It's a ball and socket joint in the hip, so it moves in a circular motion. When you get about here, the hips start opening up. And you're creating more of a rotation here. So just be mindful of that. One thing you can also do to create more stability is push the hip down, the iliac crest. You can push it down here. And he'll get a much deeper, more stable twist. One nice modification to do is bring the hip on the side of the foot, right on the arch, okay? And just lean in. So you're leaning into this hand, you're leaning into this hand, and you're pushing the hip into the foot. Okay? And you can play around with that. That allows the stretch to go deep into his glute, the medial part, the center part of the glute. So sometimes with a client, you may feel like just holding it static is not enough, all right? But you still want like a little bit of that element in there. So what you can do is like, if you've been doing these big rotations, you can just kind of stay in one place, but move them in semicircles, just an inch to the left and right. Okay, just kind of find their spot. Like for David, this spot's really, it bothers him. So we're gonna stay here and just make micro movements just to get some motion, some life into that area too. Okay. Then we bring them around.
It's like when you're noticing, because in the circle maybe there's a little restriction. Doesn't fully move as easy or something.
That's a good point, David. So David brings up a good point. Some ways you can find out where someone's problem spots are is you like David said, you're going to see some restriction in their range of motion. You can also see it in their breath. If they're breathing comfortably and then all of a sudden it's like that's the spot too. Okay, so both of those are confirmations that there's an issue. Now David's been doing a lot of Kundalini over the years, and so his breathing's pretty fluid even when he's in discomfort. But you can still kind of hear it. You can hear it you'll hear like an inflection. You may hear a speeding up if their breath just starts speeding up. You can also see it in their face. the face is one of the best ways to gauge. You know, like for example, when David and I are doing resistance stretching therapy, I know where his limit is by looking at his face. You know, and sometimes a client's limit isn't their physical limit; it's their limit that day. When we're working on people, we're working on so many layers of them, not just the physical but the emotional, and we have to make sure we meet people where they're comfortable. Okay, so the face is one of the best indicators, because you can look at the other responses and just say, no, your body can handle this, but they had a long day, they had a hard day. That's something their face shows. So make sure to look at that. It's very important. Okay, so now doing static on this side. Okay, make sure you make the nicest, roundest circle here in this range, okay? You don't want to just bring this knee down. You want it to come down in a circular motion. That really goes deep into his hip, okay? When you find his limit, so David's limit is here today. A lot of women, they might be able to go down lower. Women generally have more open hips. But when you find that limit, bring for example, my right thigh, I'll bring it up here and just support his hips, to stabilize his hip, exactly, right? And just also stabilize very gently, firmly, but not pushing too hard, just gently on the pec here, okay? And if he's nice and comfortable here, we're here for maybe a few seconds, a few breaths, okay? I see that, his leg is staying there, I might bring this here and just create a little bit more of a stretch right at the hips. Again, we're starting at the root, right? So we're really focusing on that root. Again, I'm using my Lao Gong, and from here I can create circular motions and just do deep tissue. I don't have to use any of my muscular strength. I'm just pushing my body weight. And how am I doing that? Pushing my forearm into my body and just leaning in. Okay? Very powerful, very firm, because you're getting all this power for free. You can be delicate. You can finesse things because you're not having to exert. It's a really nice skill to have when you're working on people. And these stretches really help, whether it's for massage or for Reiki. Yeah?
Wait a second, this one,
What?
that opened this up a little bit.
Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah, we can do that, sure.
You don't have to.
But
I was noticing. I feel
if
like
we
with
did that,
like,
I'd have
that,
to.
I could get
Yeah.
this whole thing.
If we did that, I'd bring you here. I'd bring this knee. Sorry, we get here. I'd bring this knee. Hold on, let's lift this up for a second. I'd bring this knee out like that, and then I would go up here.
Oh shit, this is getting deep.
What if he grabbed his own leg
No,
and used
the whole point is for him to not
Okay.
Not have to exert.
Yeah.
Those points of contact are awesome.
The more points of contact you can make, the better. And guys, this isn't something like that was in a book or that I thought of. I use just practical thinking, common sense, just using the foundational principles, making points of contact, understanding the anatomy of motion to be able to see that that's what's going to create the best stretch. And that's the way you want to think, because you can memorize all this stuff and it's important, when you're starting off, but you should be able to think on your feet.
But that body understanding and intuition with the body does come from, like what you said, the fundamental understandings.
Just being a yogi, doing it for decades.
Yeah. So regardless of whether that was intense for the client or deeply relaxing, you still, because the therapy is just beginning, you want to make sure that you bring them into a harmonious state. Always rebalance them. You don't want them too relaxed or too energized. You want them, in a focused state, in a harmonious, balanced state. So I might, after doing all that, I might bring him back to that child's pose position.
Yeah.
Probably doing both legs. Okay.
Yeah.
Keep him there for a second. Just recenter. Okay. From here, the most natural stretch to go into is the hamstring stretch. There are some situations where this is appropriate, where you just kind of bring them into a straight stretch like that. But what this does is it overstretches the top of the hamstring complex and doesn't allow people to feel full sensation through their whole hamstring complex. Okay? But if you start here, if you start at the roots, you start in that fetal position, then this is already starting to open up, and it allows the bottom, the soleus, gastroc, the ankle, all this to open up now. And he starts feeling, even though, it doesn't look as pretty as having a straight leg, he's now feeling the stretch throughout his whole leg. Okay? Mm-hmm. And this also, having him in this position, you have a few more points of contact. You can create a more potent stretch because you have more of your body weight to use. Okay, you can push your hand, your laogong, down here in this inner thigh. Okay, bottom of the thigh, and then either pull the toes or push the ankle. From here, I like to hold static here, but you do want some dynamic motion. Okay, so I might go in and out like that. And I look at what his other leg is doing too, okay? So if it's like going too